Yep.
Yes!
Once again, we are here, Dan. Why do we always end up here every week? Why?
You're on a contract.
It's because we got to talk about movies, haven't we? For everyone's sake.
That's the real reason. Yeah, of course it is. Yes, it is. This is the Tommy Reviews YouTube channel. We've never actually opened this up introducing what channel you're watching.
We haven't.
We never do that.
It's very wise.
Why don't we do that? We should do that. It's Tommy Reviews.
Yeah. Tommy Reviews.
Yeah.
You know. Continuing with Jazz Hands January, as always. This week was a tough choice, Dan, for me to write a review. I didn't actually have time. I've had quite a busy week, so I didn't actually have time to write a review this week. So we're going to be freestyling this week on a certain film. A film that I think you've seen.
Try me.
It's a little 1939 film called The Wizard of Oz.
1939?
Yep. Where
Yeah, I've seen it.
85 years old.
Ha ha.
This is easily the oldest film that we've ever talked about. You know,
Wow.
I'm not big on musicals, right? But I caught the majority of this when it was on over Christmas, so only a couple of weeks.
Have you not seen it prior to Christmas?
No. I have. When I was a kid, I watched the whole thing, but as a grown up, I'd say I haven't watched it for a good 20 years, maybe. So
And when you say watched it, you mean
all the way through,
all
yeah.
the way through start to
And
finish.
I didn't even catch it all the way through when it was on New Year's Day this year, but I'd say I caught maybe a good 85% of it. Ironically, it's 85 years old. Let's not combine that.
I love that. And what a way for the broadcaster to start the new year by putting on that film.
I mean, they do that a lot with
just
a
another
lot
year
of
older.
films, don't
Yeah.
they? I mean, like with they always have these classic films that they put on over the holidays. You know, like some stations you find Chicken Run on, for example, or
Great film.
Indiana Jones films, just family classics. You know, but Wizard of Oz is one of those. I think that falls in that category. My mum even said, you know, back when she was a child, she remembers the Wizard of Oz being put on over Christmas back then, and back then it was what. 35 years old even then, so you know.
And even so, obviously back then when it was a different ball game, not everyone was receiving it in colour.
No.
And that was a big part of the film, which we'll dive into
in
a moment. But
that is one thing I really let's jump into it now, actually, Dan, because
straight in.
let's just address the elephant in the room. You know, the fact that the beginning of the film and the end of the film, I wouldn't even describe it as black and white. It's that different tone. What is it? Sepia?
Monotone, is it?
It begins with S. It's like sepia or something. We used to have it as a camera setting on our old phones years ago. I want to say it's something like sopia or sepia. I want to say. I'm surprised you don't know, to be honest. Do you get what I mean, though?
It's normally the sort of thing I do know.
It's not black and white. It's like a goldenish kind of tint to it, like a very aged copper-like look to it. Can you see anything of the sort?
I know the word you mean, but I couldn't pronounce it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know the word you mean, though. I know the word you mean.
Well, that is the bookend style of the film. You know, the beginning and the end are in that tone.
Now, the resolution is so small on this. It's literally in a little corner square behind your shoulder.
This one.
Yeah. Do that again. Point at it.
There it is.
Point at it with your thumb.
It's right there, look. See?
There you go. There's the film. Wow. Look at that. It's so tiny.
I know.
Now, obviously, this film... let's just go back now. Producer man Steve would have wanted to have said this. So obviously the book was a lot darker than the film.
Yeah.
And of course its sequel, Return to Oz,
Yes.
was more to the theme of the book.
Yeah, I agree.
Man, that was a dark film.
I prefer Return to Oz to this film, I gotta say. This film is a family-friendly, like, that can be enjoyed by all ages, but with Return to Oz, on the other hand,
I watched that as a kid and I really shouldn't have.
like the woman who keeps removing her head and all that, you know, and putting a new head on it, and
Things
the
with
wheelies.
Ah!
Yeah,
No.
it was great. I was all for that, really. I was, you know, more so than this one, I think, because this one, you know, you get why it gets all the praise, especially if you're like a fan of musicals or something, which I don't happen to be.
No, I'm not. either, no.
Yeah, but it's.
But again, it's an all-rounder.
But it's a technological tornado of a film. No pun intended, because there is a tornado in the film.
Well, how about we reword that then? A technological milestone.
Yeah, or a technological marvel. You know, it's it really is like incredible. Like
Trust
that
you to use the word Marvel.
Well, you think that, but I'm not a Marvel fan these days, Dan. I don't like Marvel movies anymore. Well, the new ones anyway.
No, I'm not.
But that's a whole other review. But when it comes to The Wizard of Oz, some of the effects in it, the matte paintings, the miniatures, the stage production aspect to it really is quite tremendously done, and considering... do you know what? And it's really bleak. Let's get bleak for a second. Like when I caught it on telly, I was watching it, and there was a big crowd of characters in it at one point, and all I could think was, "Blimey, all those people are dead."
Aren't you a bundle of joy?
I know.
I've just blown up in front of your face at the moment a scene from the film. Hopefully you can see this.
I can see it.
There.
Yep.
So The Wizard of Oz in Technicolor.
Okay.
I mean,
well, Technicolor was
quite an achievement, right?
Yeah, Technicolor was the term that they used for the coloured aspect. Because again, like I say, the beginning of the film is in that black and whitish tone, and the ending of the film is in that black and whitish tone. But I'd say a good 90% of the film, 95% of the film is in colour, which was brand new for its time, I'm assuming, because...
Well, I mean, I speak to people who are native to the 80s, and colour TV was not something that a lot of people had.
Yeah, that's true.
Colour just wasn't a thing.
Yeah, well, I'm sure by the time the 80s came around, I think everyone did have colour TV. Going by what my parents told me, they said early 70s is when colour TV became a thing. That's what they told me. Or late 60s, actually. In America, I mean, it kicked off in America first, didn't it?
I mean, we're in 2024, and you can still get a black and white TV license.
Yeah, I know. That's pretty incredible considering. I'm half tempted to get one just because it's retro, man.
I've got one down here, actually. Genuinely.
I know you do.
Yeah, it's got a hat on it at the moment for some reason. But yeah, absolutely. I mean,
but when it comes to the story of The Wizard of Oz, the characters are quite entertaining because you know the story. Like Dorothy goes to Oz, she meets the Scarecrow, who doesn't have a brain, the Tin Man, who doesn't have a heart, and the Lion, who doesn't have courage.
So she came to our hometown.
Pretty much, yeah, because our town is full of brainless, heartless, cowardly people.
Yes,
that's the word I was looking for.
Yes, it is. And again, what I didn't understand with the film is, was that a hallucination, or was it something that really happened? I mean, in the story, obviously.
That trope has become a cliche at this point, hasn't it? Like in most movies, like someone always wakes up at the end like, oh, was it a dream or was it real? And I think The Wizard of Oz might have been one of the first movies to do that. To be fair, to an extent.
They set a bar somewhere.
Some of the horror stories that you hear about how this movie was made, though, and you can imagine. I mean, Hollywood isn't a nice place to be today. Imagine what it was like in 1939. When it was
a very new thing as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, but where producers treated the actresses terribly. They used toxic chemicals to make the face paint for like the Tin Man and the Witch and all that. They got like seriously ill. They almost died from the fumes of the chemicals that they had on their faces. It was just no health and safety back then, man. Absolutely none.
I suppose back then it was a case of it's a relatively new job to just prance around, dance and sing, and get paid for it, and a substantial amount of money, which back then Hollywood probably wasn't that well established, and therefore it was unbelievable that there would be this amount of money going into the industry. There was like, oh no, this will never catch on. And then obviously, to work there, you are putting up with all of that. As you described. I can imagine. I mean, it was pretty horrible, even in more recent years, as you say. I think, it had to have been
how actors and actresses are treated. It's still a big issue today, but
massive.
Back then, you can imagine. I mean, Christ. Even kids at schools were getting treated poorly back then. I mean, imagine what it was like for adults. Just a different world. It's a completely different world.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, obviously the world's changed in the last few years, as we know.
Yeah.
So we do know the world can change.
And in 1939, the world was about to change in a big, big way, wasn't it?
Certainly was.
Considering World War II was about to kick off.
Yep.
This was
that's my one occasion. I'm not going to get you to say two in the way I like you saying it, but
yes,
absolutely. It again, that was another world-changing phenomenon.
Yeah. When I think of like
For the worse, obviously.
when I think of films in the late 30s that kind of like reinvigorated cinema, I do think of The Wizard of Oz as one of them. But the other one came out in 1937, which was Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
Wow, yes, it did.
2 years before that. 2.
Hey!
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
1937.
Well, I forgot about Snow White.
80.
And again, colour again.
Is it 87 years this year? 87. The Snow White is 87 years old this year.
That's just stupid, isn't it?
But you gotta admit, craftsmen for their time. They're pure craftsmen.
Let's do the maths here. 87 years. That is some good maths. That is some good maths.
So we've got 17 years to go before it's 100. So
that's not even funny.
Well, we'll be around for that, won't we?
Oh, we absolutely will be.
Yeah.
Again, cinema was not... I mean, theatre was bigger in these days.
Yeah, yeah.
So for cinema to kick off, I mean, you know how people adopt technology these days even as well. You know, it's just not... it's really hard to explain. It blows my mind to think that this was successful.
Yeah. But it's because I think, like, I kind of defer it to, and I'm going to probably get a lot of hate for this, but I'm going to deter it to the Beatles, in that, in my opinion, I don't think the Beatles are that good, but they were only popular because there wasn't much else of that back then. There wasn't much else, and it's similar with The Wizard of Oz, I think. Like, the only reason it got as popular as it did is because there weren't many movies about back then.
I suppose it's the same as how we look at linear television. It was great back in the day.
Yeah.
Because we had nothing else.
But now it's all streaming, isn't it?
Yeah, and I read an article today to say that live television is dying.
Yeah.
Linear is dying. That they plan on switching off all the satellites and aerial transmissions in 2028.
That's a shame.
It's annoying, isn't it?
Nah.
But again, it is how technology evolves, and for me, it's refreshing to see that technology was evolving in these days.
Yeah.
I can imagine it would have probably been a lot more power hungry. It would have taken a lot more time.
Yep.
To put films like this together, and again, they did very, very well. I mean, some of the effects in this, some of the CGI effects.
They do look pretty good, don't they?
They do look good. I mean, I've seen newer films where it looks worse.
I gotta admit, when I was a kid and I was watching it, maybe when I was like 4 or 5 or 6 or something, I would have dated the film less than that. You know, I'd have wagered that film was made in the 70s. Could have passed for it. You know.
Yeah, I would have as well. And another thing as well, it's follow-up Return to Oz. Some of the effects in that. I mean, the whole
practical,
the brickwork and
yeah. That I mean, Return to Oz is definitely on my rewatch list. You know, like, unlike this one, which just happened to be the case because of
just happened to be on television.
It was on TV over the holidays, so I caught a bit of it. But Return to Oz, I actually want to go out of my way to rewatch. You know, so but
there's another film on over Christmas. I hope you caught on Channel 4.
If it's Cars, I'm going to kill you.
It's not.
What is it?
SpongeBob movie.
And we've dropped down that abyss.
That was on today as well.
Well, you are committed to watching one of my favourite films, The Two Towers, this year, because you'd rather do that than go to the pub with me and producer man Steve.
I'm sorry, how many towers?
2. So on that note, Dan,
that's quite a great film. Then I give it that.
Yeah.
So Wizard of Oz.
The Wizard of Oz. I'm gonna rate it 3 stars out of 5.
Any reason why it didn't get those extra?
Well, maybe because I'm not a big fan of musicals. I only kind of know this one because I remember watching it when I was really, really young. The technological achievement for it, though, that's what earns it its stars for me. Because I'm not too big on like the story or the characters in particular. It's a bit tongue in cheek in it, you know. So.
Yeah, it's a bit like dishwater, isn't it? A little bit.
Yeah,
a little bit. I mean, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
It is a good story, but it's kind of like Three Little Pigs.
It is a bit, actually. I've never thought about it like that.
It's just the story that...
I know there's a lot of people out there who do love this film, and that's cool, you know? Like, if musicals do it for them, then that's totally fine. But for
again, me... For me, I prefer a deeper story.
So do I.
Something with a little bit more... a bit more thought into it. But obviously... as you say, for what it is,
Yeah.
a light-hearted look on stuff. You know, it's great.
I can't wait to be here in 17 years' time when we're talking about the film again when it turns 19 years for them when it turns 100.
Hang on.
You did the math for Snow White, not Wizard of Oz, right?
Yeah, so 1939.
39.
And you want 100 years.
Yeah.
2039.
Okay, so 2039 take away 2024. 15 years. So we'll be back here in 15 years where you'll have a beard like me and we'll be talking about...
It'll be down to my knees, yeah.
Yeah. And we'll be talking about how it's turned 100.
Back in my day...
But what would you rate The Wizard of Oz?
Do you remember YouTube?
During the war?
Yes, I would probably agree with you on the 3 stars. I think the technological bar that was set by this...
Yeah.
And what it was for the time, definitely earned it its
That's
stripes.
one thing you got to appreciate it for, I guess.
That to me outweighs the story and the characters. You know, for me, it's all right, but once you've seen it once, you don't need to see it
We've
again.
had worse films out there. But,
definitely.
But we also have a lot better, don't we? Let's be honest.
A lot better.
Yeah.
But, you know, for what it is, it's not bad. Don't get me wrong. If it was on telly right now, I probably wouldn't bother.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not really.
I only bothered because it was New Year's Day and there wasn't much else on and I was nursing a bit of a hangover. So I just left, so I left it on in the background. And
I did wonder why you didn't put a lot of effort into it.
Yeah.
The truth comes out now.
Yeah, you know how it is. But
Beautiful.
but no, it's an okay film. But I'm sure we have better musicals to talk about before the month is out. Dan.
Oh, of course we do, and of course, we do have the blah 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 blah. 2 left.
2 left. Okay.
So you need to get on that.
Yes.
Really looking forward to how you're going to be finishing off Jazz Hands July.
January,
rather. Oh, for God's sake.
Doesn't feel like July out there, man.
It's not July, is it? It's minus something.
Yeah, -2.
Snow's coming. What's that all about? But, of course, we do thank the lovely audience for watching the Tommy Reviews YouTube channel, which you can like, comment, and subscribe to below. Or if you're on your phone and it's just on the landscape mode, tilt it.
Yep.
Then it's below.
Yep.
Very important you tilt it.
That's true.
Got to tilt it.
Yep.
And of course, we're also on Letterboxd.
We are. Larkins95, Dan Moore Radio.
Yeah.
Can't miss it.
That is me. Do not look up my radio work. It might actually upset you. But thank you, Tommy, again for another one of those.
No worries, Dan. Look forward to seeing you next week. And everybody, have a great week as well. Take care.